Good morning, everybody. It is Woodturners Coffee Hour number 143 for March the 16th, 2023. My name's John Kelsey. I'll be your moderator today. It's a show and tell day. I don't think Ziegler's here, so I don't have Ziegler's video. I don't have a copy of it, so that'll have to come next week. My other computer over here is struggling mightily to get itself warmed up to show Mark Skinner's pictures, so that might happen later in the hour. Announcements. I don't know if I have any announcements right now. The only announcements are Lancaster Club meeting next April the 4th. I think the demonstrator is Ernie Conover doing hand cut spirals as a counterpoint to Barry's machine spirals. And Barry and I are working on a video about his jig and how it works, and I think it's going to come up pretty good. What are you guys seeing on your screen right now? Just so I know.
Well,
who do you see?
Gallery.
Gallery.
Do you generally look at gallery view, or do you let speaker view take over? What do you guys generally do?
Speaker view.
Speaker view.
Speaker view.
Yeah. Okay.
Gallery, and then wait for you to spotlight.
Speaker
view. We are not spotlighting anymore because that messes up the recordings. We're letting Zoom do it with speaker and gallery, and what's interesting to me is that what I get on the recording is not what I see on my screen. I mean, right now I see Garrel drinking coffee in the speaker view, but I'm pretty sure on the recording I'll get myself. So it's, who knows?
I use a split screen. I've got the speaker view on the left-hand side shrunk down a little bit, and on the right-hand side I have the gallery view, and that's how I watch it all the time.
That works. I do two screens. I have the gallery on one and the speaker on the other, which is why it records that way.
I'm equally confused about what gets recorded. It's not predictable, I find.
No, it isn't. It isn't. And what you record on your computer and what Zoom records is different as well. When you do a Zoom cloud recording, the gallery view only has 25 boxes, but I'm seeing 49, and I can record 49 on my own computer. So and as you say, the speaker view is always, I mean, I'm seeing Bruce in speaker view, even though he's not saying anything. And I think not everybody is. I think it's sometimes the image persists and sometimes it doesn't, and we don't know why. So anyhow, it is a show and tell morning. Who's got stuff they want to show? I do. I have my hand up. Going to need some more action here to fill this hour up. What else you guys got? This is your chance, you guys who are new here, to show us things that we haven't seen before. I'm especially interested in encouraging people who have not shown here or have not shown lately to show us stuff. We've got regulars who always have things to show, guys like Toby Booter, because Toby works in the shop every day and he's always got new stuff. Some of us are amateurs and we don't always got new stuff, but we do got stuff, and so bring it along. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to go across the screen and see what happens here. Randy, you're on. What do you got?
Luke, I am your father. I have gone over to the dark side. And thanks to Toby, we had a hands-on event on Tuesday night at the Susquehanna Club at Woodcraft. We had 4 lathes going and a sharpening station, and we had probably 20 to 25 people there, and everybody seemed to have a good time. And we started early. We started at 6, and we ran up till about 8:30. So there are a few cracks in this, stress cracks on one side. I'm going to have to fill that with.
Stop waving it around. Show it. Hold it still. Okay. Now, which way did that grow in the tree? Where was that in the tree? Where's the middle of the tree?
The middle of the tree is up here. And the cracks are running right into the center.
Hold the bowl the way it was in the tree.
This way.
Okay, now turn it around so we can see the inside. Okay, turn it around so we can see the inside. Okay. So the center of the tree was in front of the bowl, right?
Yeah, this is the way it was growing in the tree on the inside.
Okay, but where was the center of the tree? I'm still struggling for that.
Over here, it was in front.
Good. Okay,
so
that's why you get that pattern inside there. If you've done it the other way, you get a completely different pattern.
Yeah, yeah. And so This is mostly dry, but it has a few, one or two stress cracks in it. I'm gonna have to fill them with some thin CA, and I'll keep going on it. So
Hey, John, now that you brought that up, how can you tell ahead of time which way you should turn it so it would look best inside, or is it the luck of the chisel in the wood?
No, you're going to get ovals if you turn it with the center toward the opening of the bowl, and you're going to get a hyperbolic square figures if you turn it with the bark side toward the center of the bowl, because of the geometry of the tree.
So it's predictable. Okay.
So it's predictable what the general shape that you're going to get in the way the wood figure is going to go if you're sawn square to the axis of the tree.
Right.
If you saw at some other angle, I mean, anything can happen, but you still can't tell quite what it's going to look like. I mean, down in there, he got some lovely flow between the swirls of the grain that that you wouldn't have known those were going to happen until you turned into it. Sometimes you just get circles down there, ovals.
Right.
Anybody else with a comment on this particular phenom of which way to orient the wood and get on top of what the grain is going to look like? Did everybody think about that, or am I the only one?
I learned that with my first bowl. I was told that, and I thought, you know, I wonder how long it would have taken for me to figure this out if my mentor hadn't have told me that in my first bowl lesson.
I got a question for you about feathering near crotches. What's the best way to turn it when you want to get feathering near a crotch?
You got to figure out where the crotch is, and then turn the piece so that will display. Typically, that means if you depends on how you cut the wood. If you're cutting the wood down the middle, you're gonna have two pieces with crotch. Then you would need to orient those at where the saw cut is toward the bottom. If you orient it that toward the top, the way you typically would, you're gonna cut through that feather and not necessarily see it.
Wait a minute now. Slow down a minute and put that again. I want to get what you said. I want to really understand what you just said.
Okay, you take a crotch and you slice it down the middle, right? The crotch figure is normally going to be in the middle because that's you're cutting, for example, through that crotch, that branch, whatever, and that's where the feather is. It's not on the outside; it's on the inside.
So you want to turn it so that's in the bottom of the bowl or in the rim of the bowl?
Typically, yes, you'd want that in the bottom because if you have it toward the top, you're going to cut most of it away in most instances.
But you're going to get it on the rim of the bowl if that's what you wanted.
Maybe a little bit, but maybe not. You might not see much. You might see a little bit of figure in two spots, but you're not going to see nearly as much. You'd like it connected from one end to another, and you're more likely to get that if you oriented it at the bottom of the bowl.
So, Mike, are you saying you cut the crotch like this or like this?
You're all right. Holding your fingers up, you're going to cut the crotch through your fingers down towards your knuckles.
Like that?
Yes.
No,
the other way.
The other way.
Like this.
So
Let's see.
you're cutting right through the pith, is what you're saying on both pieces, right?
Through all pieces, the main trunk and the two crotch pieces. You're cutting through the pith. That's a good way to describe it.
If
So
you
is
really
it-
want to get good figure on that feather, though, you really only get one really good one. If you split it, it depends how wide it is, you know?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
guarantee yourself one. Don't worry about getting two.
Yes, that's a good point. And that's where you've just got to kind of think about that piece of wood and kind of guesstimate what you have in there and how big it is. And also don't anticipate you're going to get a lot of feather if you're doing something like a Bradford pear crotch, because you're going to find out it is almost all bark inclusion and almost no feather. It's going to all.
That isn't true. I made a bowl not long ago, a Bradford pear crotch that had a very beautiful figure. It was subtle, but a good finish, and it brought it up. It was very nice figure.
It's not the figure. The trick is when you're looking at the raw piece of wood with all the bark on it, you think it's a lot bigger than it is. But that bark inclusion goes so deep that in many instances you really
Yeah.
don't have a piece you can use to get that crotch. Sometimes you can, if you move
just not there.
away from the crotch, you may still have some feather. Yeah.
Okay, now the other thing that is worth mentioning here is that the reason you have feather is the tree has been bearing the stress of those limbs moving in the wind for its whole life, and so the wood is compressed in there, and it's called reaction wood. My other observation is that when you make a bowl with heavy figure, you're going to get a lot of movement in that wood, in that bowl, because of the reaction wood. Am
The
I
other
right
thing, John, you're absolutely right. But the other thing to think about is the shallowness of the bowl you're making. You don't want to make a super deep bowl if you've got a lot of feather, because otherwise your feather's at the bottom of the bowl and you really can't see it very well. So it works a lot better if you have a shallower bowl than a deep bowl to really give your feathering a nice appearance.
Or a platter. I think it works especially well on platters.
Now, what woods give the best figure? If you don't like the figure in Bradford pear, what woods do you like? Good figure in, feather figure in. Walnut is great.
They all tend to have some feather.
Something related is ambrosia maple. And if you turn a bowl in, say, the natural edge configuration, so that the pith is at the bottom of the bowl rather than like in a salad bowl, the pith is normally at the top, the ambrosia effect reaches up on the sides of the bowl. If you do it the reverse, like you would do a normal salad bowl, it sort of lays flat, and it's an entirely different look to the bowl. I went out and looked, mine are all faded a bit, so it really wouldn't show on the camera. It makes a tremendous difference.
I think the best feather comes from trees that are exposed to the wind, because that's where you get the branch movement a lot, John.
I think you're right about that.
I don't think it's necessarily just the type of wood, but if you have something, I've always found the ones that I get from a farm or someplace like that, or somebody's backyard, which is a big limb that's been just exposed to the wind, they get really beautiful feather down the middle of it.
I think normally the best feather comes from U-shaped Ys. If you do a V-shaped Ys, you get a lot of bark inclusion and it interrupts it. When you get a U-shaped Y, if it looks like this, then you get a nice feathering. John, I sent you a couple of pictures a couple of weeks ago of a bowl I made that has a lot of feathering in it, and it's a Y shape. I think here it is right here. You can see what it looks like. That's the Y, and you can see some of the feathering. It's not a very good picture, but it shows exactly what we're talking about.
Ken, I missed those pictures. Did you send them attached to an email?
Yes, I did.
I'll have to look for those and try and get them up. I found several pictures. I didn't know where they came from, but I'm not sure those are they either.
Okay, this is a walnut bowl, and
you don't have
I actually
window,
entered it in the February competition for the AAW. You can take
Do you
it.
have it there?
No, I don't. I gave it away already. It was a gift to my dentist, actually, because he's retiring.
I'm going to find those pictures of yours, but I won't be able to do them during this hour. But I will find them and bring them to show, because I want to see it better than in that picture. Anybody else on this topic?
I think the other answer, John, is contrast. And I haven't been so successful with walnut having so profound, but something that's lighter like you that can have a dark feather, or maple as well, I find just stands out really well. And makes just a beautiful feather.
So you'd say lighter colored woods, in other words, make the better feather figure, but not woods that.
Yeah, I've had better luck with lighter colored woods that have dark feathers. Yes.
Yeah, I have some nice pieces of cherry with a lot of feather.
You got any with you?
Would somebody hold up a piece of feather? I'm getting lost in this definition of feather.
Here's a guy, Dave Delo's got a piece here. Let's focus. Let's put a spotlight on Dave for a second, just to get to see it. There he goes.
Hold it up higher, Dave. Yeah, so that's feather.
And what wood is that, Dave?
This is beech wood, a lighter color wood. Okay, it's only about 7 inches in diameter, but the feather comes on both sides of the piece.
Is that twice turned or once turned?
This is once turned.
So did it move around a bunch too? Is it, or is it more?
Yeah, there's about a half of an inch difference in the width of in the length and the width.
Did it go potato chip as well?
A little bit. You can see, I don't know if you can see that, just a little bit.
Yeah, we can't quite see it. That's a beautiful piece though. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Can you hold that up again and show us where the center of the tree was?
Oh, the center of the tree is right there. The center of the tree is right here.
Or here. So you're open, the open side of the bowl is the bark side, and the base of the tree is where the pith was. The base of the bowl is where the pith was. And which way up? Can you tell which way up it was as well?
I didn't hear you, John.
Can you tell which way up it grew? Which way up it was when it was?
No, I don't know that.
I bet you can. I bet that, I think that's probably, you're holding it that way right now.
Like that.
Yeah, I think so, but I'm guessing.
And was that a feather? I mean, a crotch?
Yeah, this was a crotch piece, a smaller crotch piece.
So it's fair to say that most feathering happens around crotches, or it only happens around crotches?
Only.
Okay. I
Only
love
it's
crotches,
the
but
weight of the branches can't lever it out from the crotch that makes it, that causes it.
all right.
That was here's a nut. Speaking of walnut, this piece is cracked with the bark inclusion all the way. So this is a once turned that sitting on the rack, and I'll probably never finish it because it's
Why
cracked.
not? I think it's kind of lovely. What's the difference? Nobody's ever going to put anything in it besides a potato chip anyhow.
Yeah.
But
But
it also looked like a potato chip, right? So
Anybody else on this topic? I'm looking at my gallery view for somebody holding up wood. Tatkowski, have you got something to say here? Yeah, here he goes. I'm gonna spotlight him just so we get the picture up. What do you have, Bill? We're looking at it.
Box elder.
Hold it up so we can see it. Oh, I'm afraid your connection is frozen. Yeah, I'm gonna take the spotlight off you. You're frozen solid. Nice try. Maybe he'll start. Here he comes back. The annoyance of Zoom. Anybody else? If his picture on sticks, we'll get him back.
Yeah, it says it's unstable, my connection.
Yeah, sorry. Makes it
Okay.
hard to keep looking at you.
Yeah.
Going to hold up wood in this area?
Yeah, John, I've got a piece here. I don't know if you can see it. It's Mark.
I'm gonna find you and spotlight you if I can't hear you are. Okay, now tell us what you got there.
It's a piece of cherry. I'm
And
trying to
that's,
get it so you
and
can see
that's
the,
sliced right down through the pits, yeah?
yeah. I don't know if you can see the feather in it.
Can't see it.
Beginning to see it. I can see it's gonna come up and when you turn that, and which way around are you gonna turn that?
Haven't decided.
Are those
Depends
gouge
on the
marks?
depth. If you know, if we're a platter, I'd do it one way. If it was a deep bowl, I'd do it the other way.
Have you been carving on that with a gouge? It looks like gouge marks.
Yeah, it's actually a bandsaw mark.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So.
And how thick is that piece? Hold the end up so we can see the, okay, so you got some wood there to work with to make a platter out of.
Yeah. It would be a small, it's a small piece,
Okay,
but like I just wanted to show the figure in the crotch.
that shows good. I'm tempted, while I have you there, to try. I'm not sure if I can. I have to do a couple things. I'll get you back. I've got your pictures up on my other computer, but I have to get rid of my background in order to go there because otherwise the background kills them. So I'll come back to you. Anybody else on this then? I'm going to move on then.
There it is. Can you see that now?
We see
A
your,
rabbit.
there you go.
Oh, there we see it.
Okay, good. We got to get a closer view of that. We don't see the figure, unfortunately.
Oh, well, you can see it across mine, but this figure goes right across the entire width of the 32-inch bowl. It was cut out close to the root. So it's a huge tree that was cut out close to the root, and it's just a, anyway.
That's
But
a
you're
platter, right, Doug?
It's a platter. Yeah, it's a platter.
platter.
It's a darker platter. But
Well, it's
anyway,
really a wall sculpture, isn't it? I mean, it's not actually
Well-
ever going to be used.
yeah, I don't think people will probably use it more of a wall sculpture, but it's really you can get some fairly big figure if you want to. It's just a matter of the size of the tree and stuff and the location. And as I said, around the roots also, there's some feathering can occur just because the tree is bending back and forth. The roots are keeping the feather and the tree in place. So there's a lot of bending goes in that area, which people don't necessarily think about. Anyway.
Instead of using it as a, sorry, instead of using it as a wall, sorry. Go ahead, John.
I was just going to say you got that wood from Ben Kaufman, who had quite a bit of it. I'm not sure where he got it. I think it came from Wisconsin.
Yeah, exactly. It's an older oak or older walnut. Anyway, I'll stop my share.
Okay.
John, I was just going to say, instead of using it as a wall, could you turn that into a Lazy Susan for a table?
I did that actually. I've got a bunch of them that I put into the Lazy Susan if you want to.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go on to Sarah Krill had her hand up. Where'd you go, Sarah? What do you got to show today?
Feather.
I think you're muted. I'm not hearing you.
Sorry about that. It's just a good it's not a turn piece, but it's a good example of a feather.
Now, where did
what
you
it
get
looks
that? And what are you doing with it?
It's a board. Yeah, it's just a platter I made for my husband for his chicken wings.
You can say charcuterie if you want.
Well, no, this is specific for chicken wings. He really likes wings, so he has his own special platter for it.
Pick it up again, please.
Why do you have it at work?
What is that? Is that maple?
This is cherry.
Cherry, okay. And again, which way up was the tree? Can you tell?
I don't know. This was
Okay.
this was in a scrap bin, and I was like, oh, that's pretty, and I salvaged it, and I was like, that's a cool crotch piece. I'm gonna grab it and make it into something. And it sat in my shop for about a year before I did anything with it.
Nice piece.
Or has the bark come through both sides?
I don't. It wasn't on the piece when I got it. I didn't see any bark on the piece when I got it.
No,
You mean the inclusion.
The inclusion.
So this.
Yep.
There.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is on
Does that
both
go right
sides.
through?
Yes. Yeah, it does go right through.
Yeah.
Does that
So
have
you do
epoxy
a
in
whole
it?
lot of chicken fat
Yeah.
down in there.
Yeah, it's filled.
You need a glue to catch the grease and channel it off, you know. So.
No, it's filled so that doesn't happen. I don't
Thank
need
you,
anything
Sarah.
more to clean.
Thank you very much. Ray, what are you going to show today? Ray Simmons?
Thanks, John. Hey, we've been talking over the last couple of weeks, some different tools came up, and I just wanted to show for people that they haven't, we've talked about them, people ask questions about them, and they don't know what they look like. So to kind of take some of the mystery away, this is a tool that is I don't even know if this is made anymore.
Hold it still. Don't wave it around. Hold it still. And where's the cutter? I can't see the cutter. Okay.
I met Mike Hunter at a symposium years ago, and he kind of questioned me. He says, "Is there any cuts that you take that you have a problem with?" And I said, "Oh yeah, hollow vessels, small hole, near that hole." He says, "Come with me." Goes over and he says, "I just released this. This is a Mike Hunter tool. It's only used for inside the hole." I gotta get this. You go in the hole.
He has some tools that are like that, but that's got more of a hook. That's like shifted in its axis from what he's now manufacturing on.
This is, it works backwards. So it only works where you can stick your finger in and touch. So you go in with a tool and you just cut and it goes about just as deep as your finger goes to do that. It's a unique tool. I don't know if he still does it, but it was made special for, he laughed because he goes, I got just what you need.
Hey, hold your finger up. Hold your finger up when you hold it up. Hold your finger right, because I want to compare one with you too. Go ahead. Yeah, you have to talk though so you pop up because you're on voice activated. You're on
spotlight.
there. Now hold your finger right at the cutter. See if the camera will pop into it.
Trying to get. There's the
So
cutter.
the cutter, yeah, I see. That's oriented in a way I've never seen before. It's like a hook.
Yeah. And I want to talk about that too, because we were talking the other week about this. And I don't know, again, am I catching it? Let me see if I can get it to.
You gotta hold it in front of your face, Jim, or else you gotta kill your background.
Let me finish the other stuff. Then
Oh yeah, go ahead, Ray. No, go ahead.
Ray, yeah.
And then one of the things that we brought up is being able to cut inside the lip. And this is a Raleigh Monroe head.
Hold it still. When you wave it around, we can't see it.
And this has extra links where this can be mounted and then cut actually going backwards. So
where's the cutting edge on that?
Right here.
Put it right in front of your nose so we can focus. There you go.
There you go.
Okay. Interesting. So that thing on top, the depth limiter.
Right. Cutting edge.
Yeah.
So
it's the depth limiter that confused me. I thought that was the cutting edge.
Yeah. Now, this is designed really, when you look at this, here is a ring tool. And so very similar, except this regulates depth. So what Raleigh Monroe did was able to make it you can only cut so much. This one can make your life miserable if you're not careful, but that's a ring tool. So when you look at that, and now we talked about this.
That's a hook tool.
And that's a hook tool. But when you look at the similarity,
they're the same, sure.
The difference is this actually is easier to make than this because but when you cut this out, the advantage found with this is that it's so open that it doesn't clog. So that's why the popularity of a hook tool. And these are basically, when you look at the size, this comes in different sizes, the ring tool, but this is the same size as this hook tool, but with a side cutout here. So,
and what do you use that for? Greenwood or dry wood, and where in the hallways?
It works great, but it'll work on both, but works really good in end grain. And the last thing is this, I don't even know if this company, this is an eliminator, but you see how this is flat? This is made, this sits on a tool rest. And same thing with a cup, and this cuts end grain. And every one of these has their place. What's nice about this is there's no worry, it just sits flat, but you're doing a cut backwards rather than forward. Usually that's how the cup cutters cut anyway. It's a backwards cut. But this
what do you mean a backwards cut? You mean you're cutting on the?
What happens is when you use like the ground, like if you're doing with a hollowing and you have that machine, you use that little machine ground piece that you make, those are cut going in forward. When you change to a cup cutter like this, these aren't oriented to go forward. They're oriented to go backwards, because what happens is you bury that when you go in forward, and it's destructive.
You mean you go to the bottom of the bowl and come up to the lip? Is that what you mean by backward?
This will cut toward you like a pull cut.
There, thank you.
So, and then the other thing too, when working with these is just people that are trying this, why they have a problem, is some of these are set up distinctly for end grain. And when you try to do it in cross grain, it's the cutter's not oriented for that, and it creates a problem. So they're not really interchangeable a lot of times. So
Well,
anyway,
which is which? Which one is for end grain and which one is for cross grain?
all these work good in end grain,
That's what I thought. And cross grain is more like a bowl gouge.
like a bowl gouge, right? But this just, it has its place. You know, there's a small cutter, but that's it. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey,
Questions for
Ray? What I want to show, and again, we're going to probably have a little problem with the focus. This is, I think, a Jimmy Clues. I just got it. And we were talking the other week about, and again, you referred to it, limiters on the top. Jimmy claims that his bottom here, I'm an aggressive, I have a trouble with being too aggressive. I got this tool because you can't force it any further. It'll bump he has it cut right down along the side so that it limits your depth of cut. You can't get too aggressive with it. You
In other
like
words,
bump it.
the heel of the tool is a depth limiter rather than a cap on top.
Yes, and I wonder what the virtue is, one or the other. I think the bottom one's better because it limits the top one. I don't know. What's the difference between the top and the bottom?
I also noticed that, pull that up again, the plane of that cutter is not parallel to the plane of the tool shaft. It's on a tilt. It's mounted tilted.
He has it,
So
he has
that's
it
part of its
tilted.
geometry. Yeah.
Right, he has it ready built in. So you just lay this flat. You can't roll it or you don't want
Right.
to. And
Yeah.
you lay it flat and he has the angle built in, and it's actually angled just a little bit that way. So that
So
when
that's
cutting like.
so that's also for pull cuts in end grain, right?
Well, you could use it. I haven't worked with it much yet, but yeah, I don't do very much end grain, so I would go in and then pull it back like Ray was talking about.
Yeah, but you do end grain. The funny thing is even if you're cutting, you're doing end grain when you come around the side. And the thing with that is you can overcut with that. When you leave that flat, it does hit the bottom, but if you rotate that so that top edge touches and you're not as like in a rub the bevel situation, that'll overfeed. Raleigh Monroe's idea is that he guarded the cutting edge, so you can't, no matter how you rotate it, you can't get more of a cutting edge than what's you call it a guard.
In effect, it's the cap iron on a plane.
Right. It's that though, Jim. What you can do is, sure, when it touches the top and the bottom, but the top of that's all open. You stick that into anything and you're not careful, and like that, you got the handle up. You stick that in and pull the handle up. Now what you're doing is you're going to get a terrible catch.
So with the angle there, that's more of a shearing cut than a scraping cut at that point. And so do you put it a little bit below center, above center? How do you approach the wood with that?
Well, like I said, I just literally got this and put it in the handle the other week. And when we were talking about it, I thought about it and I went out, and I haven't been turning because we remodeled our kitchen and I haven't been able to get to the lathe in the last month and a half. But I'm anxious to try it because I bought it for the very reason that it would limit my aggressive cut.
So come back and report to us in a couple of months or weeks, whenever you do have some experience.
Well,
and
I have it in a handle ready to go. So yeah.
So Ray, you started this conversation with the tool that gets you right next to the hole. And I find when I use my bent tool, I have to go out and get the tool wide first, and then I come back to the tool. And of course, I'm using a cup cutter that, as you say, you want to come towards you anyway with it. So I find that gets me fine near the hole, but you can't get there directly. You have to go wide first and back to it.
How big a hole are you going through?
That's, I guess, a really good question. I don't get all that small. I probably do most of it around an inch.
Yeah, so you go to a smaller hole, that's what that's made for. It's made for your finger. Just the idea is the finger check. John Jordan, we talked about John Jordan recently, and he was a very interesting guy, because he was like, you never knew what he's going to say, and it was kind of like just the way he did it. He was doing a presentation at a symposium, and he was talking aesthetics and just how to set your lathe up and stuff. And he said, well, this is what I do. And a guy says, hey, he says, do you sand the inside of that hollow form? And John Jordan is just, without it, he talked kind of steady and slow, and he just looks at him and he goes, the only person that checks that hollow form is that guy sitting next to you. And the room just cracked up, because they're all wood turners. So basically, I don't know if he sanded the inside or not, but his answer is the only guy checking is a wood turner. So I still like to get inside next to the hole. I can't, I like the small entry holes. So I can't get in there and sand anyway.
So how small do you go?
Thumb size. I use an Ellsworth boring bar, which is smaller than the usual boring bar, and not one with the ones where you screw on the cutters and stuff like that. You can't get in small. You got to use a boring bar with a set cutter in it.
Didn't Ellsworth make his own small coring tools out of Allen keys? For getting out of
No,
Allen?
he uses carbide. He uses carbide. He did that for a while for some of the small things, but he uses carbide cutters set in a steel bar.
And guys,
high speed steel.
Don't forget that when you're doing hollow forming, it's not the objective necessarily to get sandable, but the more you can get out of the hollow, the lighter your vessel is. So the real wow for the customer is when he picks up a hollow form and says, "This is way too light," So and if you don't have, and if you dig in on the side when you're on the inside, when you're getting that light, you can go through it if you're not careful, or make some other, or suddenly enhance your hole, shall we say, because that then immediately throws the cutter, the bar around. So it's more or less about keeping the integrity of the inside, I guess is my point.
I misspoke a moment ago. I don't mean a carbide cutter. It's a high-speed steel metalworking cutter.
Yeah.
Little square cutter with a rounded end.
3/16 of an inch.
Right. First time I got one, in fact, the only time I got one, I broke it first time I used it. I never fixed it again. I haven't got it fixed yet, but that's me. I'm sure I used it wrong. Anybody else on this? We move along.
Okay. Going back to the crotch. Here's an example, of the use of a crotch, but I don't get much feather. But this is the center of the tree. This is where there might be some feather, but generally you're going to lose it as you go down. But I like the shape so you can see the actual crotch.
That's a nice piece.
Yeah. Thank you.
What's the back side of it look like?
It's just a bowl.
Okay. So how does it stand? Does it stand?
I like to display them either vertically or horizontally, and actually like this. And I have a little one-piece stand with a notch in it that this fits in, and the piece, is on one side. So it kind of.
So that's not a bowl you're ever going to use for anything. You wouldn't put paper clips in it.
No, it's just a display, and it displays better vertically or horizontally rather than flat.
Cool. Nice piece. Mike Brazeau.
I've been working on something just when I can get to it for our show and tell table. It's basically a motorized turntable, so it's about 18 inches in diameter. I painted it with some neutral gray latex I mix up. Scott Tipping, who heads up our hybrid group, brought in a kitchen Lazy Susan on January, and for the benefit of our hybrid people out in the field. So when we're doing show and tell, you can put it on the table. So I went to Dr. Google and I found somebody that bought a turntable at IKEA and added a microwave turntable drive motor to it. We just happened to have a Panasonic that died in January. And it was very easy to adapt. Behind here is a little plastic fitting. So I bored a hole with a Forstner. I tried mounting it with that to true up the top surface. This was some pine, laminated pine. I had built a storage bench for my kids for their pool house. So in the end, I put this with a 3-inch faceplate, was able to true up the face, and I had glued it on a couple pieces to make it wider. I ended up planing them off with just the power planer. I still got to put a plug
So you
in.
scavenged, wait a minute, you scavenged that slow speed motor out of a microwave oven.
Yeah, you can
What
buy
is power? Where does it get its power from? Can you just plug it in, or does it have a power supply?
Yeah,
What,
just AC. It's like 1 watt. So I've just put some 18 gauge, and I'm going to put a line switch in it. I'm going to put a long cord so we don't have to use extension cords on the table, etc. It runs at, it's a little bit fast. It's at 6 RPM. The alternative is to use a barbecue drive, and they're only about 2.5 RPM. But I had this, it was free. I had to buy a plug. And what else did I have to buy? The line cord, it was some speaker wire I bought 20 years ago and never used. So tonight's the test. So we'll see how it goes. But I think for the people out in the field and on the show and tell table, you put it on, we're just using a phone on a small tripod. And so it'll spin around and send it out to Zoomland. I've done some progress pictures, and I could put it together into a instruction sheet if anybody's interested.
That would be good for the hybrid group, especially.
Yeah, I think so. I'll work on it. I've done some pictures. So.
Okay.
Do you think a rheostat would be able to control the speed?
It's a synchronous motor. So
Okay.
yeah, you'd have to, I don't know where you would find anything that you could control.
You need a pulley in there.
Yeah, it gets too messy.
Yeah. Okay.
A synchronous node or ignition is tied to the.
Yeah, synchronous is running on the line frequency.
Yeah.
So on 50 hertz, it's at 5 RPM.
Yeah. Okay. Going to move on. Bruce.
Yes, I have a Freewood project. Recently got a call that we all get, hey, got a tree down, would you like some? And so I asked the key question, what is it? I don't know. It's heavy and it's a big tree. So I took a chance and tried this. And apparently we have a lot of this in Maryland. Anyone know what it is?
Catalpa.
Locust.
Honey locust.
No.
I'd say mulberry.
Mulberry is the answer, yes. I thought it might be orange osage. When I first cut it, it was extremely yellow. And I guess it is confused with osage quite a bit. And it has a grain pattern that's very similar to ash, if you will. And it's quite heavy. I didn't realize, I would have made the bowl thinner if I realized it was going to be quite as heavy as it wound up being.
We have a lot of it around here as well. It's lovely to turn.
It's not bad. I wouldn't say it's great to turn. This one had a bunch of bark inclusions. I don't know if you can see, there's a few over here. And I love John's discussion of which way do you want to turn it. I kind of like bowls both ways. Sometimes with the nice four-piece pattern, and sometimes with the ovals, it works really well. And often when you get blanks that the bark is gone or it's kind of equal in diameter on top and bottom, you do lose track of which side might be which. But anyway, I thought it was pretty neat. The color seems to persist. It doesn't seem to be getting darker. And you can see there's kind of another grain pattern in it that's kind of interesting as well. But it was a huge tree. And this mulberry is very heavy. I was shocked the weight of this blank getting it in my car. But I think the whole round that was, 2 bowls, it was definitely pushing 100 pounds when I put it in the car.
What's the diameter of that?
Probably
That's
about
gonna,
10
that's gonna
inches.
turn a beautiful dark brown.
Is it
It'll
gonna turn
take-
brown?
Yeah,
Yes, it is.
I have a picture, I'd have to find it, of the contrast in 2 years on a bowl. It was my first posting on a turning forum about, was I was given a piece from my brother-in-law's firewood pile, and my sister-in-law has it. It's one of my favorite bowls, just a bits and bobs bowl, and it goes a beautiful, beautiful brown. It kind of, you can't find a stain that would make that color.
Yeah, coffee color, really.
I think when I did some research, there are different flavors of mulberry, and I'm not sure which one this might be. So I hope it will turn that brown, but it seems to be quite stable, the color it is now, but we'll see.
I'm
But I
surprised
guess-
you said it wasn't. I'm surprised you said it wasn't great to turn. The mulberry I've had around here is beautiful to turn. It just turns really clean and nice.
The question
to
is
turn it.
whether the color changes faster than Osage orange. I'm fascinated because the both apparently end up about the same, but
I
how
think
long
you-
does it take?
It's UV light and it don't take very long.
Right.
We'll see. I only put walnut oil on it, so we'll see what it does.
Okay.
This is why I said it was possibly locust, because very similar in color.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Beautiful
color is similar, but I
picture.
think the grain is different. The grain on that piece is much more like ash. It's got that open piece in between.
Yes.
Now, what is that? That's honey locust or plain locust? Black locust? What do you
I
know?
would say it's black locust. I'm not sure.
No, that's a very hard wood. Black locust.
Still turn nice because I turned it green.
Uh-huh. Very heavy wood as well. Doug, you got something you're going to show us today?
I have a question as much as showing anything. I'm struggling with, I've been making balls for the inside of magic tricks. Let me put this in front of the things. So I've got the thickness down, and my problem is now that I'm to this size of a ball, and I need to paint it. Can people see me okay? And the thing I'm
stop waving around. Hold it in
Sorry.
front of your face and stop waving around.
The
Okay.
thing I'm struggling with is painting and getting it so that I don't get this line when I run the paint on it. Angelo, I'm afraid, he said, well, what you do is you just hold it together. But my second problem is this is a 2-inch ball. How the hell do you paint it with a spray can? Because a spray can, you're probably spraying more paint around the ball than you are at the ball. Does anybody have any advice on that? Don't everybody speak up at once.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm looking
you
at the
might
gallery.
wanna, you might want to put 2 nails in a board, one so that it's pointing up and one so it's pointing down, and just clamp down on it with the 2 nails. And you should be able to hold it that way, and you should be able to spray paint most of it.
But in terms of spray painting, is there any special nozzles, or is anything that's got a low volume spray paint that you can use so you don't spray paint everywhere else except the piece you're painting?
No,
You could
just-
use artist airbrush.
Yeah, airbrush would do it.
Doug, are you using a spray gun or a rattle can?
So far I haven't got sophisticated, so I'm using a rattle can, but if there's a spray, anybody has recommendations on a spray gun, I'll go out and get one.
For something tiny like that, I would get a touch-up gun, a little thing
Okay.
like you hold like a pen. And then have
Okay.
a built-in regulator so you can cut the pressure back and you can take your time.
Well, fine
Okay.
artists have one you run by mouth blowing into it yourself too, not run off a compressor.
Okay.
The
So
other thing
you
I
get,
wanted to share with you is when I make little things that I have to finish, I take a scrap piece of plywood about 12 to 24 inches square. And I take my air nailer gun and I shoot nails in wherever I need to hold up the piece off of the board. And I have some of those that I did that have 50 or 60 nails sticking up, but it holds the piece. It can't slide off of those nails.
I've made myself a little tripod that, well, 3 nails, and I can then I put a bearing in the bottom so I can literally physically rotate the ball up in the air while I'm spraying it if necessary. I'm about to try that out, but it was more a question of the spray itself. So you're saying go get myself a nailed artist spray spray thing. I'll go to Hobby Lobby and pick up something.
Then you can control your spray,
Yeah, okay.
control the pressure.
The cheapest single action airbrush will work just great.
Yeah.
Just
Horrible
practice
fake.
on a scrap. Practice on a scrap.
Well, I've made enough balls that I've messed up that I now have a bunch of scrap ones anyway. So, but yeah, you're right. Thank you very much, guys.
Okay, Stu.
Hey, we're talking about some feathered pieces here, and it just come to mind that I have this piece here. This is a beautiful piece of black walnut. Now I got to tell you right off the hop, I didn't turn this. This was gifted to me from Ed Preddy. And we were talking about the feathering, and I just remembered that I had this, and I just wanted to show it. He's done an excellent job of capturing the features of this piece, and it's.
Why do you think that's black walnut? That looks pretty light for black walnut.
Well, I questioned it too, John, but I did ask Ed, and he told me it was black, so that's what I went with on that.
All right.
Yeah.
Looks like a chest X-ray.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It looks real spinal and yeah, backbone and ribs and lungs.
Very cool piece of wood.
Yeah. And I just quick comment back to Jim. You were talking about the Jimmy Clue's hollowing tool, his mate. I got the whole set. I got about 5 or 6 pieces of it. Totally love them. They are very, very good. You're going to like turning with that tool.
Thank you. I'm glad. I can justify the purchase better.
Yeah, I know they're not cheap. I was fortunate enough. I bought the set used from a fellow that retired from turning, and I got all of them, and I've used every one of them, and I really like them. Yeah, and I also have those hunter tools too. I got a set of 3 of those. So yeah, and that little cup it's phenomenal what it can do with small boxes and get to the bottom of things. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. So yeah.
Yeah, you'll have fun with it. Yeah.
Hey John, last couple weeks ago we talked about power caps and dust collecting.
Yeah.
I brought in, if you have a minute at the very end, I brought in my power cap to show everybody what it looks
Show
like.
it right now then. I was going to go to Don, who's got his hand up, but show us what you got. I was wondering about those. That's the power cap.
This is the power cap. Up here's the filters. It has a felt, let me take it, has a felt edge around. So if you're a bearded guy like me, it fits nicely.
What's the price bracket of those, and who's the vendor?
They come out of England. Peke Power, I think it's called. Peke, is that right? Am I saying it right?
Yeah, it is.
Peke, P-E-K-E, I believe.
P-E-K-E, yeah. Bruce was talking about them. I love this.
What do they cost?
I don't know what they're now. I think I got it for somewhere $400 or a little bit under, but I got it as a show special. And it's not running now, so I'm starting to fog up. But as soon as you turn it on, the power, the air's blowing, it clears it away, so you don't have any problem with you hear it running? And
No, we don't hear it.
And it's not heavy. This is the battery unit. It'll run like 6 hours or something.
And then you recharge it, just plug it in, yeah? As a charger?
Yeah, you can either plug the charger in right here, or I usually take it off, drop it in the charger on the bench and let it there. Okay. But I have liked this cap. Now, I haven't had a chance to test its resistance to a chunk of wood hitting it. I don't think it's quite as strong as the bionic masks are. So I'm a little tentative when I use it, but then I'm generally will use it when I'm sanding. So it's not as much of a critical issue. You know, the knocking stuff off when you're sanding is, you're gotten a little too aggressive. So, yeah. So that's the power cap. And I have
wanted to see that, so I'm glad you brought it along.
Yeah, well, we talked about it. Here's the filters. You just pop them apart. They have different kind that go in. So whatever kind, it literally pops apart and you can shake it out. It's a couple layers of stuff in there. And it's amazing how much dust it actually collects. It's just scary when you think about that in your lungs. So
Yeah.
that's the Power-Cap.
I love
Okay.
mine.
Yeah,
Get about a-
I thought you mentioned it the other week. Yeah.
Don, you got a quick last word here?
Yeah, what's the time out there?
Well, it's 11 o'clock, almost the hour.
Oh, so if I'm 4 hours behind you, in front of you, not behind you now, so I lost the first half hour. Right, just two quick ones. A couple of things I made. Sorry I missed you last week, but I was on holiday. But here's a ball that I've made. I don't know if you can see the configuration around it.
Yep. Does one of those open? It does. Yeah, nice.
It's a small secret box in imitation ivory. And I've also made one in Paducah.
Uh-huh.
Same thing.
Same deal.
And then the last
So
thing.
what are you going to put inside that? Your cocaine or what?
takes-
Your diamond
It takes
rings?
a British pound coin.
Perfect.
So it takes about 5 coins. So you've got a fiver hidden away in the ball.
Very, very nice. Very nice. Very good.
Love it, Don. Love it.
The last thing, this is a competition piece I've made. It's don't know what it is really, but it's a competition piece. But the top is a ball with a ball.
Is the ball hollow or solid?
Solid ball.
And it
You
fits
have
in the cup.
You have a
Yeah.
fiver in there, Don.
Sorry?
Do you have a fiver in the ball?
No, there's no fiver in that one. Just a piece with a shaped bottom.
Is it all one piece?
All one piece. Was
Okay.
except it was all one piece with the lid. But the ball is English U.
Nice, nice. Nice stuff.
So that's hopefully I might do something with the competition. But it was the bottom that was the most interesting part of it.
It's interesting. You could that ball made me think of the magic pillboxes that I'm trying to work on. If you just take another level, you could have put a little extra shell in there and made it into a magic trick for yourself.
Yeah, you're right.
We're going to have a show on that pretty soon too, I think. But on that note, kids, it's just after 11 o'clock, and we start on time and we generally end on time, so you can all get on with your day. Thank you all for your participation and comments and everything else. See you all next week.
Great.
All right.
Bye. Thank you, John.
Bruce and Jim.
Thanks, John.
Everybody.
Thanks, Jim.
Wood shop. Thank God for wood.